Namaskar and a very warm welcome to Impact Leaders with Simply Suparna, where we celebrate individuals and organizations making a significant difference in their communities. Today, we're honored to have with us Dr. Jitinder Agarwal, a visionary leader who has dedicated his life to empowering persons with disabilities. But before I bring him to your screens, I'd like to start by paying my obeisance to the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead, and I'd like to start by reciting the Saraswati Vandana. Ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanna manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, ya brahmachitta shankar prabhutibhi, devai sada vandita, samam patu Saraswati, bhagavati nishesh. Jadyapaha, a very old Sanskrit verse. It talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom of knowledge. And of course, without much further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Jitender Agarwal, who has been a SABERA awardee, and he's the founder of the Sarthak Educational Trust. Dr. Agarwal, of course, in 2004 lost his vision, and post that, he has dedicated himself to empowering persons with disabilities. And in 2023, he has been acknowledged by the Honourable President of India with the National Award. A very warm welcome, Dr. Agarwal. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Suparnaji, for inviting me. Thank you so much.
First things first, Dr. Agarwal, I would like to understand from you what has been your background?
Okay, so actually I used to be practicing dentist 2000 till 2004. 2004 I lost my vision because of iridomacular degeneration. And when I lost my central vision, it was a challenge for me to practice as a dentist. And then I had to leave my practice. And 2004 to 7, it was like duping in the darkness for me. And when I struggled for my livelihood, I realized challenge faced by people with disability in India. I traveled across the country and to identify employability of people with disability in Indian private corporates. But both the sides, like when I interacted with the organizations working for people with disability and the other side, corporates, both were not aware how to hire and where to hire people with disability. And as a professional, I thought to contribute by giving livelihood to people with disability in private sector. And then 2008, we founded Sarthak Educational Trust.
Super. This journey seems to be extremely inspiring. But what I want to understand and plug the gaps in between is you took the name of the deceased. Were you aware of this thing before you actually lost your eyesight? Was it 100% loss of vision?
So it's see, iridomacular degeneration is a layer on macula where the entire picture is we are able to see through that retina, and on retina there is a layer called macula. So that layer is totally degenerated. So what is the outcome of this? Like your central vision is completely gone and peripheral vision is there. So little bit you can see in artificial light, but in sunlight it's completely gone. So you have peripheral vision you can manage inside the house with artificial light, but outside it's completely gone.
Okay. And this you were aware of is something that you had been suffering from. Is that correct?
See, generally it start when you are in 30s. So generally I used to wear spectacles before, but I able to manage clinic and other things, but there's a sharp decline after 30s. So I was in that age group and it declined, and
Right.
then I went through that journey.
And you mentioned that once this happened, this incident happened, obviously it would have taken an emotional toll on you. There is no doubt about that. Considering the fact that not just your vision, but then your profession, your relationships, your entire world literally would have been disturbed with this. And you mentioned that you did travel across the country. So did you have a support system with you that believed in what you wanted to do when you went around talking to corporates, or actually the seedling of Sarthak Educational Trust that was being formed at that time?
I think with God grace, I have a family, and with comfortably they were supporting me, and friends also around me, and so with God grace, they all of them were supporting, and they were confident that something is going to happen for me, and always there was a appreciation from the family and friends. So that support was always with me, and of course, passion and came when I went through the phase and realized challenge faced by people with disability, and I think that motivated me to travel across the country and to start Sarthak.
You know what? I think this is something that I have seen as a thread across most of the SABERA awardees, where we've seen that there has been a personal trigger somewhere or the other that has motivated the individual behind the organization that we see doing very impactful work, and making them continue to be committed to that particular cause, because you've gone through something personally and then you believe in it, and you can actually feel, while for us it could be just a conversation or something written on paper or a story that I may have heard, but someone who's actually living that reality can see what is the problem that other people in that situation can face, and that's something that is a very important learning, to be able to do something good for the other rather than being in a victim mode, because a lot of us do tend to get into a victim mode, as opposed to actually using that to be able to help someone else. So that is extremely inspiring and commendable at the same time. Now, coming to Sarthak specifically, what exactly is it that Sarthak does?
See, initially from 2008 to 13, 5 years of our initial journey, we created demand in the market with Indian private corporates, but because they were totally not aware how to hire and where to hire, they generally used to ask how a disabled person will come, what they will eat, and because they are not no, generally in public places we don't see people with disability, and they were not aware about this. So we make them aware. I think we presented people with disability, and it was top to bottom approach from CEO to a HR manager. And when the top management was convinced, so they started hiring. And it was from day one, it was a business model for the private corporates to hire people with disability, not a charity mode. And because of their sustainability and win-win for both the parties. So it first was demand creation in the market. We organized across the country and around 100 roundtable conferences with different sectors like IT, BPO, retail, hospitality, commerce, across the sectors. And for supply chain, for people with disability, numbers database was also not structured with the government and NGO. So we traveled across the country for organizing job fairs from Srinagar to Chennai and from Ahmedabad to Guwahati. By 2013, 60,000 youth with all disabilities registered, 3,000 got the job, and then we realized what is the challenge for with 57,000 youth with all disabilities, and the challenge was their skill set was not matching with the market requirement. So in 2014, we then started skilling program for people with disability. So now we are in 24, and now we operates in 20 states of India. We have 25 own physical centers, and around we have outreach to around 3.3 million disabled youth, around out of which around 90,000 are successfully employed in 3,000 plus corporates.
Super. When you're saying all of these things, especially with the retail sector, we recently, conducted a similar interaction with Amisha Prabhu, who's the co-founder for Train, who is specifically working in the retail sector, and I would be happy to connect you with her as well, who is skilling people with disabilities and making them employable in the retail sector. And I think a lot of the companies are coming forward. Something like, probably the Lemon Tree hotels, or even Zomato for that matter, and other, even Uber for that matter, who are very happily employing people with disability, and not really looking at it as charity, because Lemon Tree, of course, very categorically says that it is very good for their business. But tell me, besides the skilling, and it's taken you about 10 years to make that, that gap, or cover that gap, what other challenges have you faced? Is it, this mentality still remains in a kind of a handing out of a dole perspective. People feel that okay, maybe as a tick mark we can do this as an inclusion. I've had this conversation also with Arman Ali of NCPEDP, and he also sees that there's a marked change. But I want to understand from you, is it that corporates are still looking at this as a tick box check, or has there been a perceptible change in acceptance?
Yeah, I'm a very optimistic person, so I'm always very positive, and I feel in last 16 years, because Sarthak now journey is around 16 years, we can categorize corporates in three types. Corporates who are above maturity curve, like Lemon Tree you mentioned, and there are others also. Uh, there, uh, there are corporates who are at a maturity curve, means they've hired people with disability, some specific disability, but thinking about other disability. People above maturity curve has hired people with all disability, like people who are hearing impaired, physical disability, locomotive and neuro disorders, people with disability. Maturity curve, second one is like who have hired people with disability, with specific disability, and thinking about other disability. And below maturity, who are thinking, as you mentioned, check ticking the check box, and thinking about what is going to happen, maybe some fear. So there are three types of corporates, but I can see a drastic change in last 16 years. I can see that 2008 not a single one was ready to hire, and now the challenge is reverse. Like in 2008 we have a challenge how to place people with disability, and now our challenge is demand is very high in the market, challenges of supply chain. So that's why we are expanding our program in other locations and partnering with smaller NGOs. We have created a platform of NGOs called IDEA, India Disability Empowerment Alliance. There are 1,000 non-profits from the rural part of India. Currently, we are capacity building them so that they also can work like that. So you can say shift in 16 years where there was no demand, and now there is a high demand where corporates can hire any number of skilled people with disability.
Wow, I think my next question would have been, what is that very significant achievement with Sarthak? But I guess with Idea, you've already answered that. But I'd still pose the question to you to ask, not just 1,000 NGOs, not just the platform Idea, but also the stories that may come to you on a day-to-day basis of the beneficiaries, of those who have been employed. Because I'm being very candid here. Till a few years back, especially people with visual disability, and a lot of times the visual disability would come from a very marginalized background, and all that one could imagine was that they would be making candles, or probably cane weavers, and that is what the restriction of a visually impaired person would be in terms of being able to sustain himself or herself. Do you have any story to share which challenges this besides
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. So maybe I'll narrate stories with our programs. Like Sarthak currently is in health also, where we are curing children who are born with disability immediately after birth. So there was a child, I think 3 years back. His name was Manan, and he was not able to speak a single utter a word. I think 4 years old child, and he came with his grandfather. And I remember that I think he was continuously taking speech therapy, and one day he told Dadu, and that grandfather started crying that because first time he heard from that Manan that he's calling me Dadu. So
Yeah,
that was a story from our health program.
yeah.
Skilling regularly, we interact with our candidates. I think last week I interacted with a candidate in Varanasi. I think that boy was with locomotive disability, which his name was Vishal,
Hmm.
and from a humble background. He was, of course, graduate and struggling for job. He tried around 10, 20 interviews, but every time rejected because of, you can say, lack of awareness from the corporate side. He came to Sartha, go through our skilling program, and now
Hmm.
currently he's working in an insurance company. He's earning around 50,000. He's a team leader there, and I think getting best employer award from last 5, 6 months. So
Wow.
there are
Hmm.
such you can say now 90,000 stories. And as you mentioned, people with blindness, I still remember there was a candidate who were with complete blindness, people with the visual impairment. His name was Markandeshwar Rao, and now he's working in Cognizant as a programmer. So I think he was
Wow.
very enthusiastic. He was just a graduate, but he learned coding and all those things. Now earning around 75,000 rupees.
Wow.
So now sky is a limit for people with disability. I think they are doing wonders, and all across the board, you can see people with disability in different workplaces.
And you're not just confining yourself to making them employable or taking care of themselves, but you're also kind of metamorphosed Sarthak Educational Trust to be an advocate, in leadership and advocacy, wherein inclusion of persons with disability both at national and international levels is something that you advocate. Tell us, how are you going about that?
So, as I mentioned that we are in health, skill, employment. The another program Sarthak is having Olympics. You might have heard about Paralympics.
Yes,
Recently, I think we are doing very good, and where
yes.
people with
In
disability are
Paris.
performing
Yeah,
very well. So,
correct.
Olympics is also uh, it's a competition. It's a international competitions where skill competitions happening between people with disability. And every year, 4 year, there is a international event. So last year it was in France, and 40 countries participated. And so Sarthak is mandated by Government of India now to be nodal agency to govern this National Olympic Association of India. And
Wow.
so we more, I think 13 participants, 13 people with disability participated from India side, and out of 13, 7 were winners. And that
Yes.
was the best performance by India. We were at number 7. So, and internationally now, what we are doing with this International National Olympic Federation based in Japan now, so we are mobilizing, we are helping people with disabilities, especially in the developing countries like Africa and Latin America, where situation is more pathetic than India. So we are helping smaller non-profits there also
Mhm.
in their capacity building, so that they also can start skilling for people with disability through our online portals called Gyan Sarthi, Cap Sarthi, and Rozgar Sarthi. These are all e-learning management solutions is Gyan Sarthi, where any person with disability can come and have skilling program, therapy program, any program available with us. Rozgar Sarthi is a portal where you can have online jobs or government jobs through this Rozgar Sarthi job portal. And Cap Sarthi is an information bank where the entire disability ecosystem information is there of the country. So around 670,000 users are using. So we are just outsourcing these apps to these countries now, so that they also can create a infrastructure there, online platform, so that people with disability in those countries also can be empowered.
In fact, I remember, since you've also mentioned about the Ab Olympics, I had interviewed Deepa Malik almost 15 years back when I was hosting a radio show, and that was my first orientation towards Ab Olympics. And here now I'm speaking with you with Sarthak Educational Trust, actually becoming a nodal agency for an international event. It's really well. It seems like we've come a full circle, but all of this sounds very good, but I'm sure there are specific areas or challenges that you believe that require greater attention and focus in the coming years. Could you
Yeah.
delineate some of them?
See, the challenge in social sector is always of human resource. From day one, I can feel there is a challenge of human resource, and because we can, if we have good human resource, I think we can expand. Like we have a UK chapter also now, but we can expand in other countries and as well as in India also. But the challenge of human resource is still there. So to overcome this human resource challenge, we are now live with a global resource center in Gurugram, and it's an international facility that we have created last year, where Honorable Vice President inaugurated it. And a global resource center is a facility where all the services for people with disability. Second
Mhm.
objective of this GRC is to have talent pool for people which can serve people with disability for rehabilitation, for therapy, for DEI courses and other courses. And the third is this GRC consists of vision in the dark, dialogue in the dark, a German concept, ability museum, a place where any disabled any parent can come and analyze that how he's going to upbring his child. If suppose in a village there is child born with disability. So it's ability museum. He can come if the child is visually impaired. How he's going to teach his child, how he's going to work at a workplace. So the entire demonstration is there. Ability museum in GRC, and we have a Google Global Accessibility Development Center also. So we are just overcoming what challenges we faced, and the last one, we are also coming up with a global university, because in India we don't have university where we can have human resource for people with disability. So I think it's maybe another 2030 our target is to have global university for people with disability.
Wow. Seems that there's a lot on your plate, and if there's anybody who would like to associate with Sarthak Educational Trust or volunteer, are there any kind of opportunities that you offer?
Yeah, we on our website, they can go directly to our website, sarthakindia.org. There is a volunteering option on the website, and there are a lot of options where they can interact with our in skilling program. They can interact with the candidate. They can prepare them on resume making. They can they can have online sessions with people with disability, and there are multiple options for the volunteering available with children with special needs in the Olympics program, in advocacy program, and other programs. So they can directly come to our website and can fill their form, and our team is there to support them.
Super. I've also added a ticker of sarthakindia.org in case anybody would like to connect through the website. And there are multiple volunteering opportunities and also opportunities to support the trust in all the good work that they are doing. One last word, Dr. Agarwal. I know you came to the Teen Murti to accept your trophy as far as SABERA is concerned. How was your experience there?
No, it was wonderful, and I think very enthusiastic. All the participants were passionate and committed. So there was a positive environment there, and I feel blessed that I got it. And now with SABERA now at 24 and 2030, so it's a wonderful feeling receiving SABERA trophy. I think in 2018.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agarwal. We wish you all the best, and I hope to see some more of your work through SABERA in 2024. And I also hope to come down and visit you in your Gurugram Center and see how I can align with the volunteering opportunities as well.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome, Suparnaji, to visit our GRC in Gurugram. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.